I'm just going to start this video off with a story of something that recently happened to me at work. So, if you don't know already, currently I work a job at a retail store which sells like home furnishing things, like furniture and decorations and things like that. There were these customers that I was currently serving, and they were telling me how they were buying a load of things for their new holiday home that they just bought in Europe, in Spain. I was following them around the store because they needed assistance with a lot of things, so I spent a lot of time with them and just spoke to them about what their plans are and what they're trying to do. So along the way, I was making a lot of online orders for them, making orders through my company with them, and eventually they were also buying a shitload of things in store, loading up so many trolleys. And as they were going to pay for all their final things, the total came to around £5,000. When I saw that final total on the bill, I was honestly gobsmacked that people have this sort of money to just throw around. And the reason why I find this encounter so astonishing is because the amount of money that they had to spend on all the things they were buying, all the things that they were ordering through us, it probably came to around £5,000 or £6,000. And this doesn't even take into account the new house that they bought abroad in Europe. And when I just looked at this figure, I was thinking, I work this minimum wage job. It would take me 6 to 8 months of my time and effort working in this place to be able to have close to that sort of money in my bank account, let alone being able to just throw it around and have the enjoyment of it. This video is going to be about how to desensitize the way you look at money, and more so specifically in the realm of trading. Money does affect our emotions, and that's because we all have different relationships to money. Some of us come from backgrounds where money is used very frequently in such large amounts. Like, for example, my siblings, one of them's an accountant, so she deals with a lot of money and spreadsheets all day long. So she's probably very used to seeing a lot of large figures on the spreadsheets. You've probably got people that work on trading floors who have seen probably multiple 6 figures or 7 figures moving for the company. And then you've got people like me on the opposite end who work very menial jobs to try and scrape up a way of surviving in this world. And people like me are only used to seeing such low numbers, and we're very prudent with the way we spend. Now I'm going to talk about what happens if you don't desensitize the way you look at money in trading. One of the main things really is the emotions that it can invite. So it can invite things like greed, fear, anxiety, and all these things can lead to you not having any emotional control and taking trades impulsively. Taking trades impulsively, just strictly out of emotion, is very subjective and can very financially damage you a lot. If you're someone who trades without no plan, for example, as well, these emotional trades can be, or these emotions you experience in your trades can be accompanied by physical issues as well. Your heart rate, your pulse will start increasing. You might notice that your breathing becomes more shallow and quicker, which can lead to things like hyperventilating, which is something which you don't want to experience. So now I'm going to talk about I think the two main ways that people come into trading, two main mindsets really. So I've named them person A and person B. Person A is on one side of the spectrum. I've specifically given them the name of the over-leverager. And why is that? Because I believe this person is someone who probably comes from a background of having absolutely no respect to money at all whatsoever. They probably impulsively spend money on things they don't need. They don't have a very good relationship with money. So they tend to have no respect for it at all, and it's very easy for someone like that to part ways with a substantial amount of money, which they don't realize that this short-term pleasure will hurt them financially. They're letting their future selves deal with the financial burden that they're putting themselves in. Another thing about this person A, as I've called the over-leverager, is, as it says, if they do come into the work of trading, this is someone who will most likely want to over-leverage, and because they don't have any respect or value or any financial literacy about what sort of money they're dealing with, they're most likely not going to respect any sort of risk management. And then that's when, especially if you have no sort of trading plan at all whatsoever, it turns into straight gambling, which is another mistake of what this person could do. Then you got someone on the opposite side of the spectrum, person B. I've called this person the prudent spender, someone who's very cautious, and I feel like this is something that I can relate to as well. Someone who's very cautious with their money. They think multiple times before they start spending money, and it's just been ingrained in their mindset about the value of money and just to be careful with what you spend things on, but also in more extreme cases, sacrificing things for money, sacrificing time for money, doing all sorts of weird things to try and save money, including their health. This sort of person is probably someone that I could relate to as well, because, I don't come from a wealthy background. I come from a family who are pretty much middle class. They work very basic physical jobs, including myself, and they work very long hours to try and earn some sort of, to earn a living, pretty much, to put food on the table and to pay the bills. And because someone like me has come from that family, that's this sort of mindset that my parents have had to deal with gets passed down and ingrained into me. I've realised now that this sort of mindset either isn't that ideal when it comes to trading, because someone like me probably wouldn't have known when to apply appropriate risk to appropriate trades. Although they might be very good at risk management, they probably are very fearful. They probably won't know how to overcome fear in trying to enter a trade, because they're not willing to part ways with that sort of capital. Now, how do you actually go about desensitizing the way you look at money? Well, one of the things that you can do, which is very, basic business terms, Focus on the process and not the event. What this means in trading terms is focus on the trading and not the outcome. It's very easy for a lot of people to want to look at the P&L on the side of their screen fluctuate up and down, but what they're not realizing is this invites emotion. It will invite the things that I spoke about before, and it can lead to you taking poor financial risk. You just have to be able to glue your eyes to the candlesticks in front of you. And if you're someone who actually has a well back-tested and researched strategy that works, this is the only thing you should be focusing on. Now, I speak about more in terms of people who trade probably intraday and below. I'm a scalper, so at this point I'm very used to seeing 1 minute candles going up and down all the time. But for someone who's new and wants to become a scalper, they don't realize that every 1 minute candle means that you're taking a decision, or you're thinking of a decision. Every 1 minute you think of a decision. So instead of actually fixating yourself on the monetary outcome of the trade, you want to be able to make sure that you're following your strategy and trade plan effectively. Make sure your eyes are glued on the candlesticks in front of you. Don't even try to look at the P&L. So just emphasizing on your trade strategy, your risk management, and the way you execute in these markets. Make sure you stay stoic with your trader mindset. The next thing you can do to try and desensitize yourself is to try and practice detachment. So what do I actually mean by this? So there are things that you can do to try and get yourself away from thinking about the monetary outcome of your trades. So you should continually remind yourself that trading is just a game of probability. You want to embrace the fact that you can lose and that your strategy is not going to be 100% certain. I spoke about in my last video about how to know when not to take a trade. And in my opinion, I believe that knowing when not to trade is just as, if not more important than knowing when to trade. So being able to identify these things and identify the probability, it can stop you from taking, you can avoid losses. You'd also want to spend a lot of time in demo. This is one of the most crucial stages in any new learning trader's journey. Spending time in demo will help you get used to the market fluctuations in terms of what you see in profit and loss. Now, although I did just say that you shouldn't be watching your profit and loss live fluctuating, when you do eventually close out the trade, you will see a final profit and loss. And this amount will vary depending on what size of your account that you're risking. I think it's probably better to use large accounts, more larger accounts than usual in the demo trading, because this will also help you desensitize the way you look at money, and it'll help bring a bit more comfort to seeing those numbers, as it'll be something that's more familiar to you then when you then transition to live trades. But one thing I do want to add on is making the transition from demo to live is not as smooth as you might think. I had a conversation with someone in my Discord community server, and he told me he was now ready to make the transition from demo to live. He's been trading demo for a while, and now he wants to make the transition to buying a prop firm account. Now, I did say to him that it's not it's not going to be as smooth as you think, because we all come from different backgrounds. A lot of us, we work for our money as well, and when we see that sort of money fluctuating, or when we see that sort of P&L eventually landing in our account balance, it can really start to kick in that emotion. And that is that emotion of thinking about how your life might be without the financial struggles that you're currently going through. Because why are we trading? We're trading because we want to be able to we want to enjoy freedom. Time freedom, financial freedom, freedom in all aspects of our life. However, this emotion that kicks in when you're making the transition, you start to imagine your life without these financial struggles. You start dreaming, essentially. The financial struggles that you go through, you see them disappear, and you start dreaming, and this kind of fogs your vision. And at the point where your vision gets fogged, you can't play your edge anymore in the market. You'll start to forget things, and you'll only realize them in hindsight when maybe afterwards when you're journaling. Because at that point, when you start fogging your vision, the strong stoic trader in your mind has left the room. So it is really important to keep that in mind when making the transition from demo to live. And it's something that I went through myself. The next thing to try and help you is try and set realistic expectations in your trading. Don't set the goals that you want to become financially free after buying your first prop firm challenge. This is very unrealistic. I think it's good to try and tackle, just slowly basically chip away at areas of your financial struggles. So for example, if you have payments and bills that need to be made, trading to try and alleviate that pressure off your shoulders is probably one of the best ways that you can start. It's good to start as small as you can and try and tackle one bill at a time, one essential need at a time, before you can then start to slowly scale up and do the other things you wanted to do. And as well as this, you want to make sure that you have appropriate risk management. Make sure that no matter what, you stick to that risk management plan, because there will be times where trades don't move in your favour, and although you might have thought that it was a very high probability trade and you placed a bit more risk than usual, if it ends up being a loss, then how are you going to react from that? Are you going to start experiencing high levels of emotion? I mean, not to try and get deep about any of this, but there are people out there who have, in the most extreme cases, taken their own life because of what they've just done to themselves in trading. It's not a pretty game at all, and when you put yourself in this much financial burden, or when you have the potential to put yourself in so much financial burden, you just want to be able to relieve that pain as fast as possible. And for some people, it's just to escape life. Well, that was everything I wanted to talk about in terms of how to desensitize the way you see money in trading. And it's good to just remember and keep in mind that desensitizing and just detaching your emotion from capital is a gradual process, and it requires a lot of patience and persistence and just a bit more self-awareness. So if you implement these ideas and be very intentional about how you want to change your mindset, then it'll be good for you in the long term. You'll find yourself being, having more longevity in trading, because remember, trading it's the big picture. You don't want your whole trading career to be based off just one trade. You have to look forward to the next 5 trades, 10 trades, the next 1,000 trades, the next 10,000 trades. and that these small menial losses or strings of losses of drawdown are just speed bumps. It's just a small paper cut on the way towards whatever you want to achieve in your trading, really. Without success, or while trying to find success, you have to go through failure. And unfortunately, it's going to take pain and suffering in order to achieve what you want to achieve. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a good story to tell then, wouldn't it? So yeah, that was everything I wanted to talk about in the video. And just quickly before I end it, I just want to mention that I'll leave a link to my Discord community in the link below. We have weekly calls and we discuss about very interesting trading topics and give good advice in the server. So if you're new or if you're experienced and are looking to help improve the trading space, then I'll leave a link to that in the description below. And also my Instagram, where I'm updating everyone on my own trading journey and what I'm doing in terms of my own trading and just in general. So thank you guys for watching.